when I'm not ranting about the Universal Audio Apollo interface that costs over $2,000, yet somehow does not come with a Thunderbolt cable, because why in the world would you want to connect an interface to your computer with a Thunderbolt cable, even though you spend... I like to answer questions that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. Videos are dope, you're a smooth communicator, and very insightful for people learning. I'm an aspiring guitarist playing in a band, and was wondering what you were doing in your early 20s. Oh man, the early 20s, that was a legendary time indeed. Right after I graduated college, I moved out to Las Vegas, and super interesting, believe it or not, I was living with a friend of mine, and for a while there, for like 6 to 8 months, I was actually living in a closet, which, you know, whatever, hit me with your jokes. Right now, I've heard them all before, but I lived in a closet for like a solid 6 months, and it was actually pretty awesome, but it was weird because, so my friend had like a real job, which is why he like actually owned a house, which was strange for us in our early 20s. And he had like a walk-in closet, and there was maybe like 6 feet 3 inches of room, so I could lay down. But the thing is, he had to like wear a suit to work, so like I was laying under like a bunch of suit coats and pants, and the Las Vegas sun is a very warm and inviting thing if you've ever been to Las Vegas. So like every morning, like at 6 a.m., he would slide the closet door open, and like the sun would hit me in the face, and I would stir awake, and he'd just be like, "Good morning, buddy," and he'd like take a suit coat out, and then he'd kind of like shut me back in and go to work, and I'd wake up like a couple hours later. It was a pretty amazing experience. And I had like a little nightstand, which was like a shoebox where I kept my phone and like my wallet and my keys, and they were definitely lean times, but they were awesome times. And believe it or not, I actually took a girl back to see the closet once, and she totally like wanted to fool around. And then I just looked at her and I was like, have some self-respect. You're gonna fool around with a guy in a closet? Like, get out of here. I was like totally like disinterested after that, which is kind of strange. But the point being is I didn't really have my act together at all in my early 20s. I thought at the time, I was like, I'm a pretty awesome guitar player, which in hindsight, I was such a tool and I sucked at guitar, but I thought I was awesome, which is just something that you eventually learn as you actually become decent at guitar, how bad you were when you started out. I was like, I can kind of sing a little bit, I can write songs, and I kind of figured it would just happen just by like just magically like appearing in different places. And believe it or not, the years went by and I feel like nothing ever really happened. And then I developed something called a work ethic, which is something I would highly recommend all you try to develop maybe as soon as you can, because as soon as I actually started like working hard at something, like opportunities and success started kind of coming more of my way. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you feel like, you know, things aren't going your way or whatever, just start working harder. Like I kind of thought at the time that I was working hard because I was like half-ass practicing and just kind of like showing up for like different things. But in hindsight, I just could not have been more like lazy and entitled about it. So it was kind of like a reality check, kind of going through that whole experience, living in the closet. But I emerged from the closet a new man, and I have the legendary work ethic that you see sitting before you right now. And I mean, it's, you know, I wouldn't trade those times for anything, but definitely, you know, if you're just kind of starting out and doing guitar, just have fun with it. Try to keep a level of professionalism and like a schedule to it, and it's going to really help you out in the long run. But I mean, don't stress it, because like it's such a common story that like when you're super young and just out of high school, just out of college or whatever, you just gotta do stuff to get experience and kind of get that out of your system, and then eventually just be ready to rock the world when the times come. Sean, about how much rehearsal time do you spend with these great vocalists before you record it for your channel? So really the amazing thing about being lucky enough to work with the singers that I work with is that we don't really have a lot of rehearsal time at all, which isn't an ideal situation because you want to be well rehearsed, but kind of how it works is I'll just kind of like be hitting them up and we'll agree on a song, and they sometimes learn the lyrics to the song by the time they show up. Other times, and I'm not going to say who, they'll actually be scrolling through their phone lyrics with their toe, which is a level of multitasking I am not familiar with. But yeah, and hopefully by then too I'll have the guitar part down, so we kind of have it separate, and then maybe we'll jam it out for maybe like a half hour, sometimes even less. So really, I've just been like super lucky to be working with the singers that I have been working with, and I think you can kind of tell that not all of them are the first take. In fact, if we ever do nail it on the first take, it usually ends up like both of us being shocked and looking kind of like this.
I slid that here from Eden just to hide outside your door.
We just crushed that on the first take? Are you
Fucking
kidding
awesome.
me? Oh my god.
Can you play that back?
That was unbelievable.
I'm so happy with that.
This is why people buy guitars, try to learn them, then give it up. This guy doesn't want to teach you anything. He just wants you to think he's great and that music is some kind of magic that only special people can play. Do the world a favor and shoot yourself in the head, mate. Oh, I just read the other comments. Heh. Well, this sets our record for most violent Salty Blues comment of the week. And I would just like to point out, Chillin225, that it seems like you have no chill at all whatsoever. So thank you very much for your insightful request for me to shoot myself in the head because you couldn't understand the 12-bar blues video. Anyways, I don't know, just more Salty Blues comments, just power for the week. On the topic of pop music, what role do you think the guitar will play in the next decade of pop music? It seems to me that most pop with the guitar is usually just there to accompany a singer-songwriter, and that the guitar is kind of falling out of fashion, or am I just being a pessimist? I think you're actually kind of onto something, and the weird thing is it seems like a ton of people are learning guitar, possibly more now than any other point in history, but to me, I'm not hearing like the end product in a lot of the music that's coming out today. I mean, rock is kind of on the decline for sure. I mean, there's still like a lot of cool guitar stuff out there, and metal, God bless metal, is holding the torch like no other genre ever could. But it is a little concerning that it seems like, you know, popular music is kind of shifting away from guitar and going more towards like the synth stuff. But it also seems to kind of be cyclical, like the 80s is a great example of kind of what happened there. So I definitely think it's going to be making a comeback, and it's my job to help make it a comeback, and you all need to join the revolution, and we got to get guitar back up to the top, its rightful spot. Hey, what's your take on fretless instruments? I've been playing bass for a year now, and lately been listening to a lot of Pearl Jam. I've been looking into either an acoustic bass or a fretless bass. Have any thoughts? You know, honestly, I've never really been able to get down with fretless instruments. I tried for a hot second to play like a cello, which, I mean, isn't like exactly the same as like a fretless bass or anything like that, but it was definitely like a challenge, kind of going from guitar and just relying so heavily on the frets like my entire life to going without it. And specifically for fretless basses, I don't really dig the sound of kind of like just gliding over the strings. It has like a very kind of like smooth sound that is totally a signature of fretless instruments. So I'm probably the wrong person to be asking for advice on like fretless bass guitars because I'm not a huge fan, but I know that they're definitely prevalent in a lot of genres of music, and I know people who just crush them. It's just not something I've ever really put the time into mastering, so I'm not really a huge fan of them. So I can't believe I've done 50 of these, and I've never once shouted out my man, Lamontagne, who is one of my favorite male vocalists and singer-songwriters around. So I'm going to link you to my favorite song of his, Jolene, because definitely check that out, because I think it's like, it's just soulful, so soulful. Soulful is what I was trying to say. Definitely a very soulful song. Check that out. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, the website, or the comments, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks a lot.